Let's say you're looking for a full-size SUV because you've got to carry lots of stuff and tow a big heavy trailer. But you don't want something that's going to guzzle so much fuel. Well, Chevy thinks they have the answer for you with the Chevy Tahoe Hybrid. This thing is huge, but you don't have to be embarrassed when you're driving it because Chevy put labels that say hybrid all over the car. Let's see if this thing makes any sense. So the first question anyone asks when they see all the hybrid stickers is, what's the fuel economy of that big truck? Well, the answer, 19 miles per gallon is what we got in our overall testing. Well, that doesn't seem like a lot, but that's 5 miles per gallon better than a normal Tahoe. And believe it or not, even though this costs thousands of dollars more than a normal Tahoe, it actually pays for itself fairly quickly. So how does this technology work? Well, the hybrid system works pretty well. It could power itself sometimes just on battery power alone. When you come to a stop, usually the engine shuts off. It's actually pretty smooth. In fact, it feels much like driving a normal Tahoe. But there are some compromises with the hybrid system. One is there's electric power steering, and it's not very good. There's really very little feel about what's going on in front of you. And emergency handling, that's not very confidence-inspiring either. It reaches its limits pretty early. There's lots of body roll. And the brakes don't inspire confidence either. The distances, well, they're fairly long, especially in the wet. And the pedal, well, that's just annoying. It's a real firm pedal feel to it, and it makes it kind of grabby and hard to stop smoothly. And the ride, it's also compromised. The hybrid is a little bit lower and a little bit stiffer than a normal Tahoe, and that makes the ride not as comfortable and not as compliant. And at least it's pretty quiet inside, and the engine stays revving pretty low, even on the highway. Towing capacity is really generous, at over 6,000 pounds. It even has a low range to go off-roading, but the lip spoiler in the front, that's probably going to knock right off when you try to take it off-road. Inside the Tahoe Hybrid, well, it's pretty much like any other Tahoe, although a pretty well-equipped one. We like the nicely finished dashboard, but some of the controls, well, the buttons are really tiny. For the driving position, well, the steering wheel, it doesn't adjust for telescope. And the adjustments for the tilt, they're really coarse. And for a car that cost over $50,000, we were absolutely shocked not to see a full power seat. As for the rest of the interior, you get pretty much all the same pros and cons that you get with a normal Tahoe, which means a big step up and step down when you want to get in, and pretty small rear doors makes getting into the rear a little bit awkward. Once back here, though, the rear seat is very roomy, very comfortable. However, the rear seats, they don't recline, and that's pretty much commonplace for today's SUVs. And while you might think that you get a comfortable third row seat in such a big vehicle, well, this third row seat is a complete afterthought. This seat, it's way down here on the floor. That means you get no thigh support, and you get your knees way up here in your chest. There's very little cargo capacity with these third row seats in place. And if you want maximum cargo capacity, you need to actually take these seats out of the car. They don't fold flat into the floor like most SUVs. So let's get one thing straight. You're not saving the earth by getting 19 miles per gallon in this huge truck. But if you were going to get a full-size SUV anyway, the normal Tahoe only gets 14 miles per gallon. And cutting 30% off a fuel bill that could be excess of $3,000 a year actually does add up. But here's the thing, if you don't need a vehicle this big, you can get a bunch of car-based SUVs that get nearly as good fuel economy and cost much less.